my friends. It's a Sunday night here, and I don't think I've ever really done a live on a Sunday night, but the kids are asleep. I have this rare opportunity on a Sunday night where I've got time by myself, and I have this topic that is on my heart, and I really want to share with you all, and I'm hoping Instagram doesn't punish me for talking about it here, but it really needs to be said. And it's all about overcoming sexual shame. Okay, so I'm super excited. I've even got my ring light happening and all, so I feel all very professional tonight. How exciting. But I wanted to start with, let's just dropping into our body for now. Let's come to the here and the now. Let's check in with what's alive before you receive what I'm here to talk on today. Okay, so just close your eyes for a moment and just start breathing. And just breathing into your body. Breathing in and connecting to the support that's already underneath you. It could be a chair, the floor, the ground underneath you. Noticing what is naturally supporting you. And just letting go of anything that's no longer serving you in this moment. Allowing you to connect with your breath. Allowing you to be more aware of this moment. Dropping in and arriving to the now. I just want you to rub your hands together to build that heat, get that energy flowing in your hands. Feeling that energy. I want you to also check in with your body of whatever sensations in your body. What's alive for you in this moment? And just placing your hand on your body wherever it feels called to be touched. Just noticing and bringing awareness to how you're arriving. And then feel free to do a two-word check-in in the comments and just let me know how you are feeling in this moment before we dive into this very juicy topic that I'm super passionate about, sharing my take on overcoming sexual shame. And I've been reflecting on this because I must admit, and let me know if you resonate, but I couldn't put into words sexual shame. I really couldn't describe it. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't. And I haven't even looked, I guess you could Google it, you could look at a dictionary, but for me as a sexologist, I couldn't really put into words. It's just something that I guess my body understood, but it was like, how do you teach it? And then as I was reflecting, all these things started popping up. So technically I've been a qualified or certified self-pleasure practitioner, somatic sexologist for probably about 2 years now. But if you look at my feed, I haven't really been talking about intimacy. I haven't really been talking about the stuff, really. I've been keeping it very low key in the embodiment space because I guess at the time I was very confused. I'm like, is it the embodiment? Like, what am I excited about? I love my dance. I love my liberation movement. I love my self-expression. And then with close friends or in the safe circle or with my lover or in certain situations, I get so passionate and excited about this topic. And every now and then I would have rants on my podcast about what's coming up in the intimacy realms and dating and all the things. But I kept myself small without sharing it. And to me, that's where the sexual shame comes from. And the shame is about, we think it's dirty. We hold all these stigmas and these stories about there's something wrong to be talking about this so openly, especially as a mum, especially as a good girl, especially as a modest, especially if my family's blah, there's all these stories of why we cannot discuss it. And it's from fear of shame, fear of judgment, fear of being rejected, fear of being not accepted, all of these reasons, and please tell me if you're the one special person that has never experienced anything, I guess, judgmental or has a negative charge in your body when it comes to intimacy. So for instance, and I was talking to a friend about this a couple of days ago, a client, about, in high school, when I chose to not be intimate with a boyfriend, he would tease me being frigid. And then on the opposite spectrum, hey Steph, so one boyfriend, if I never ever, when I said no to him or wasn't in the mood, etc., he would call me frigid, I would get teased and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd get compared to, even they would compare me to other girls. And then on the other spectrum, other boys, if I chose to be intimate with them, this is going back to high school, you're then labelled as the, slut, the easygoing, blah, 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 and all the guys knew about it. And to me, that's what was coming up to me so strong, is because that's where the sexual shame starts. It starts with all these experiences when you first started, I guess, self-exploring, because let's face it, and maybe you were raised in a different family. My family did not talk to this day, and I'm now 35. They've never mentioned anything when it comes to intimacy, relating, nothing. Like, I've figured everything out on my own when it comes to boyfriends and connection, and I'm trying to use censored words here so I don't get banned or whatever. But you know where I'm going with this. And that's where the sexual shame is coming from, is we are taught unconsciously that it's not safe. Unconsciously, we're saying it's a taboo subject. Now, if it's a taboo subject where you're not feeling comfortable to explore, you're not feeling safe to go there, if you're not feeling safe to have those conversations, safe to explore your curiosity, getting curious, wanting to understand it, then to a certain point, you're not going to feel safe to open up. You can't feel open. And this is even as, adults. If you have all this shame in your body when it comes to your sexuality, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to in the bedroom, you're not going to be actually feeling safe in your body to open. You're not going to feel safe to connect deeper with your partner, because your body is already closing and it holds all these trauma from these previous experiences. So that's what was coming up for me when I was thinking about sexual shame. And also obviously about after it's taken me 2 years to work through it. I enrolled in this, sexuality school, when was it? 2.5 years ago, nearly 3 years ago. I enrolled, I can't remember. About 3 years ago, I enrolled into my 6-month training into being a self-pleasure practitioner. And back then, I couldn't even be intimate with someone without my head spinning. Like, to me, it was just so much. So I've come a long way to going from hating sex. It was just like this thing of like, I felt so gross about it. There was so much shame. I couldn't be intimate with someone without toys to help along the way. Again, I'm worried about censorship here on Instagram, so I'm using funny, playful words, which I hate, but let's go there. Afterwards, I couldn't share it because I had to go on my own journey. And if I'm 100% honest, I still am not comfortable talking about it on social media, which is, I'm getting there. But again, I don't think it's because of me. This is why I'm happy to talk about it, because it's not how I feel about the subject. It's not how I feel, and it's not that, and it's I know for a fact I've taken clients on these journeys and I know the results I get them, but I am mindful, and I've even said it a couple of times, and I'm mindful that I've said it a couple of times, is social media wants to also keep you quiet. And that also adds into the sexual shame, is because we're not allowed to say certain words on the internet without being punished. And it's very hard then. How can we continue to heal? How can we continue to liberate ourselves sexually if we're constantly being silenced? There's no safe place to have these conversations that we need to be having in order for liberation to happen. Which is why I'm now finally speaking out, because I'm like, well, instead of being hating the situation, I want to create the community. I want to create this safe space where people can liberate themselves sexually, because then they get to receive more pleasure. They get to have, better time in the bedroom. They get to connect deeper with their lovers. I believe well-pleasured women are the way of the future. And I truly believe it benefits your relationship, it benefits your mental health, it benefits your own. It's the most magical self-care, because there is a relation between your pleasure and your mental health. So you're really looking after yourself, but it also benefits your kids. It just benefits everyone around. So therefore, why are we always being censored around it? Okay, so overcoming sexual shame is let's start having the conversations. Let's look at the experiences that you've had. How do you feel in your body when it comes to intimacy? Is it a dead giveaway? And something that I've been reflecting on, I was even talking to a coach about it the last few days, is, are you really immodest, or is that your sexual shame holding? So I had this identity, and I've, said to friends and coaches that I struggled with sharing this word because I'm a modest. I'm like, well, how can I talk about this as a modest? And then I was having this aha moment over the last few days, because I love doing the inner work. I love doing the embodiment. I love doing the self-reflection. I love allowing God to come through me, and I love tuning into my own wisdom. It's all just magic, okay? And as I was reflecting on the whole modest situation, I'm just like, I'm not a fucking modest. That's my shame keeping me small. What is sexual liberation to you? And let's do a podcast on that another day. We're not going to dive into that. But we tell ourselves that we are modest. We tell ourselves that we are private. We tell ourselves all these stories that intimacy means blah, 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 fill in the blank, what you mean. So for me, my story was, I'm a modest, I'm just an everyday mum. But then in the bedroom, and a coach even said to me something like, well, you can be modest, but you're not modest in the bedroom, if that makes sense. I'm like, well, that rings true to me, because I believe you can be immodest and sexually liberate, and I believe that they get to coexist. And it's not the fact that you're modest, it's the fact that you have shame around your sexuality. It's not that you are modest, it's just you're not confident and you're not owning your sexuality. It's not so much that you are modest, but you're not feeling so confident and alive in the bedroom. So therefore you're creating this identity around being a modest, because then it boxes you in. Then it makes you feel safe to not express yourself sexually, because you've got that safety net to fall back on. So to me, it's overcoming the sexual shame is allowing yourself to liberate yourself. It's allowing you to express yourself freely and safely. It's allowing yourself to come into your full expression. And that's removing the labels, removing the boxes that you've placed around yourself, and connecting to yourself, being intimate with yourself, allowing yourself to go deeper, opening yourself up even deeper. And it can be a lifelong journey. I'm not 100% at my end destination. I don't know if there is ever an end destination when it comes to overcoming sexual shame, because every single time I've healed one thing, something else can come up. So for instance, even though I've healed my sexual shame about my childhood experiences, as in high school when I was, first, becoming sexually active and curious and all of that, even though I've healed that, and I've healed my relationship with intimacy, and I've healed my relationship with men, what's coming on the other side of that is now allowing myself to talk about it, having some aha moments over here. Yes, exactly. So now my journey is allowing myself to feel free enough to share it with people. And the scary thing with social media is, so for instance, if you message me, and Steph's messaged me a few times, and I'll say how it is, I've got no shame in sharing what's on my heart to people that I know privately. But the scary thing for me, and this is what I'm working through now, is social media. A lot of the times you don't know who's watching you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of scammers, especially on Instagram. There's a lot of people that definitely aren't my ideal clients. And there's a lot of, having teenagers as stepsons, they're new to social media, which means they don't quite understand consent yet and boundaries, which is what I'm teaching you. So my scary thing is sharing the truth and what I know to be true about sexuality. Knowing I have no idea who's going to be receiving it. I have no idea where people are at their journey, because it can be quite sensitive. It can be quite raw. I have no idea if it's a family member that be stalking me. So, I've got some control, but a lot of the times I don't have control. So now I'm healing that part of the shame around talking about it, the shame around having these conversations, the shame around allowing people to see, I guess, me being vulnerable outside the bedroom, because for a long time, I guess the story was the only person that can know about my intimate thoughts is my partner. So breaking free of that to have relationships, and to be honest, that's where the biggest healing starts, is being witnessed, being seen, being heard, being held. And a lot of the time, sometimes you're not feeling safe and comfortable to have the conversation that needs to be happening in the bedroom. Okay, so that's my little Sunday night rant about overcoming sexual shame, because to me that is the start of a healthier bedroom life. Let's use that term, because that's the censorship terms. I am moving into a different platform as a bonus to Instagram, so I'm not censored, so I can say it how it is, because I really struggle with censorship. And I believe censorship is adding to the shame people hold. It's preventing women from their full expression. And I'm kind of moving away from, why do we hold women back so much? As someone that's been, shushed her whole entire life, the more I liberate myself, the more I want to express myself. The higher I rise, the higher I want to bring you guys to. I'm on the other side of liberation. I know how fucking good it feels. I know the difference my kids are feeling from how free and alive and turned on I am. And I believe all women should be living from a place of pleasure. And it just sucks that we have a censorship issue that is preventing that from happening. And it's basically saying you're not allowed to act that way, you're not allowed to talk that way, you're not allowed to think that way. But yet, that is the way of the future. That is, if you want to feel more alive in life, you need to tap into your aliveness, which all comes from your sexual energy. And if you think about it, but then your sexual energy isn't allowed to be talked about. So it kind of doesn't make sense. Oh my God, my ring light's falling. That is a sign that I've said everything I've had to say. I hope you loved these little rants, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.